All right, good morning. Welcome to the Bucket Crew. This episode, we kind of preluded to it in the previous episode. We've been watching The Last Dance, right? And so kind of brought up, let's talk about, we want to get into the history and then to current day of the point forward position. Who really started it? Was it Scottie? Even if so, kind of just get into the details of it. So,
I think it's a position that's has this nice evolution through time, but obviously pretty non-existent. Even kind of growing up as a kid, I don't remember very many people being point forwards in our middle school and high school games. Like it was pretty traditional point guard through center look.
Yeah.
And then even with it, it's obviously much more prevalent in the NBA now. But I remember there was 3 seasons ago, Texas Tech was playing that team from Nevada that had the Martin twins. And you and I talked about this. We were playing them, and it was like a top 25 showdown, like earlier in the season. And they had their starting lineup was like the point guard was 6'6". They had like 3 6'7" guys and a 6'9" guy playing center. And I was like, okay, this is where the NBA is going, like positionless basketball.
Yep.
And I think the point forward is kind of where this starts a little bit because you always have to have that distributor. You always have someone bring the ball down.
Sure.
And so I think Scottie's like kind of the most famous like OG.
Right.
In this, I think people kind of overlook Larry Bird and I don't know. Would you say Magic's point forward? I gotta believe it.
No, Magic's a little more to me, I kind of thought about that because that's one thing we'll talk about is obviously it doesn't have to be a specific mold, right? Like one thing we kind of even already before we jumped on this, we talked about, but I would consider Magic Johnson just a point guard. I think the only reason we're thinking that is because the guy was 6'9", right? So
yeah.
But I
know it's weird. Just why don't I don't disagree. I thought the same way, and I was just trying to think like, why do I have this like block in my head where like we wouldn't consider him a point forward, but all these other guys are 6'7".
No, for sure.
And we're like,
and in all fairness, Magic did start at the center position in a finals game, so
that's true.
I don't think you're wrong to put him in there. I just probably would consider him. It's hard for me to say the number one point guard in my opinion of all time is a point forward. So
no, I agree. And I was doing a little research and the whole point forward deal started in the 83-84 playoffs with the Milwaukee Bucks. Apparently, there's a little bit of an argument here, I guess, but when Marcus Johnson and Paul Pressey started kind of taking the ball up, started playing that point guard position when Tiny Archibald went out, and they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals that year. And Marcus Johnson goes from averaging like 3 assists a game to averaging 6 assists a game, 6.5 assists a game during the finals run. So
insane.
He's a 6'7", 225-pound guy. So that's kind of where the impetus was, and I thought that was interesting to go back and find it. And then I'd almost say there's just as many guys kind of in the 80s that were doing it in the 90s. Like it didn't really grow very quickly from there. And then even it kind of didn't even start. I think it's almost exploded onto the scene in maybe the past 5 through 8 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
I would say I could name 20 people now who are somewhere in that mold, and only maybe 20 people all time prior.
Yeah. Well, it's like you already preluded to. It's positionless basketball now. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you're 6'9" in the 80s, you were a power forward or a center, right? Yeah. You were not expected to bring the ball up. In fact, the moment you got the rebound, you were looking to outlet the ball, right? Like now, if you're 6'9" and you can't run the break, man, you better be like Nikola Jokic, who can still kind of run the break. He's just slow.
Yeah, he's just slow, but he's a great passer. But
he's an incredible passer.
If you can't run the break at 6'7", then like you're in the G League.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's another thing. You bring up a point. I feel like in the 80s and 90s, like it felt like if you were 6'4" or under, you were a point guard. And then for whatever reason, that shooting guard position was really set aside for 6'5" and 6'6".
Yeah.
And then the moment you hit 6'7", it was like you were graduated or transferred into the forward position.
Yeah.
So.
And if you think about like MJ, he played some minutes at small forward, but not a whole lot. Not a huge amount. So it's interesting to think like he was very strictly a shooting guard.
Yep. So, no, that's a good point.
So I want you to kind of give us a little bit more on Scottie because we've all been watching the Jordan Dog.
Yeah,
he was like, what was he, 6'1"? point guard in college?
Oh yeah, like sprout up in college. I was like, no, he's taller than 6. Not to mention he played at a really small school and still got. I mean, everyone knows that now just because of the series. But no, he was 6'1". He was a point guard by. It kind of makes me think of Anthony Davis, by the way.
Yes, that's all I could think about.
And so, but then he hit this huge growth spurt and becomes what we all know him to be. And I feel like he's kind of, from my mind, he's kind of the model of a point forward. I mean, the guy was 6'7", 6'8". What was his exact height, actually? I think he was like 6'8". I'll tell you in a sec. 6'8". So 6'8", and could handle the basketball, obviously could distribute the basketball and can score the basketball. And that was like, I don't know why it felt like such a foreign concept, because you're right. You hit Marcus Johnson, Larry Bird, these guys kind of, but it felt like Scottie just had something different.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between some of these guys like literally taking the ball up the court and kind of like initiating the offense versus in Magic, obviously was initiating the offense, but I think we've discussed we're going to but Bird, not like I'm gone back and watched all the 80 Celtics games, but I think a lot of times he was a part of the offense, and he drew so much attention that he was moving the ball, but he wasn't like necessarily always the offensive initiator.
Right. Okay. Well, and I guess as you're saying that, I'm thinking, did any of these guys, did they ever have the ball inbounded to them to bring up the court? And I don't think they really did, and Scottie did. Right. Yeah. Like the only time they were bringing it up is off a fast break and transition basketball. Yeah. But, small note about Scottie, until that season of The Last Dance, right, guy was incredibly durable.
Yeah.
For as much as he played. I mean, I think the most games he missed was like 7 games in his career until obviously the 97,
until he put off his surgery.
Yeah, until he was ticked that he wasn't getting paid, right?
Did you like how Jordan, like, there's still like good buds, and he was kind of like, I didn't like that. He didn't want to go. He didn't want to like kill him for it, but he was still pissed about it. 20 years later.
His favorite teammate, but Jordan's the ultimate competitor.
Yeah,
right. But I will say, it's always easy when you're making $30 million and wondering why he doesn't.
Highest paid player ever in the NBA. So, I mean, they had to create a new rule for superstar players to get the supermax to equal the same salary. Like Steph Curry is finally the
crazy,
the paid higher than Jordan after the supermax rule.
Ridiculous. Let's get into some of Scottie's passing abilities. Right. So in the 90 season, 89-90 season, that's when he kind of broke out a little bit. That was his 3rd year. That was his first 5+ assist season. And then he did not average less than 5 assists until the 2000-2001 season.
Wow.
And then he always ranged in that 5 to 7 range.
I mean, if you really look at like 7 assists a game is a lot.
That's a lot. Especially
that really is a lot. It sounds
a point guard.
I mean, that's a solid, like, above average point guard number. I mean, it sounds great to say 10, but there's only a couple guys doing 10 a year.
No, yeah, and those are the guys. Those are the John Stocktons, the Steve Nash, the Isaiah Thomas,
James,
and LeBron James, right? Well, and we'll get into that, because Scottie has actually said, I was LeBron James before LeBron James. I mean, I feel like that's a little bit
of praise. It's high praise, I think. Yeah.
it's feeling pretty good about yourself, right? But no, I think his point is, does LeBron James, is he the same without watching Scottie? And I don't know. I think usually I would agree with that. I think LeBron's just he's so smart. He's so athletically gifted. I think LeBron's LeBron no matter what.
Yeah, I think you put him in anything, and he's just great. I'm not going to doubt his success.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you see, I just don't see it happening. But no, and you got to think, going back to Scottie, I've been doing a lot of research on the triangle offense, and so that's another offense that I feel like it's a little more difficult to get to rack up assists, because it's such a fluid offense. It's not like the ball's in Scottie's hands to make a play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he's playing with the
In
best.
theory.
Yeah.
I think in theory, but when you look at some of the usage rates, like towards the end of the Bulls run, like Michael and Scottie had the ball in their hands like 65% of the time between the two of them.
Valid,
But,
hey,
but
valid
I know
point.
what you mean.
Valid point. I still think, we're talking regular season numbers. Now, at the end of the game, you're going to go to your playmakers to get a bucket. The guy is so much better than I ever gave him credit. And shout out to, The Last Dance. Because to be honest with you, that's what gave me more credit, like gave me more respect for him. I always thought, he was a good number 2 guy, but I thought it was ridiculous that he was considered top 50. Like, not ridiculous. I just thought it was a stretch.
Right.
100% give him top 50 now.
You kind of like totally saw him as a Robin, and now you kind of see him as maybe like an Avengers deal, or
exactly. No, that's a good point. Like, he actually was a hoop. Like, he could ball out. In fact, I want to see what his assists were.
And while you're doing that, I want to talk about a couple guys in the 2000s that I think we've kind of forgotten about that were maybe some fun point forwards. But the first one is my least favorite player of all time. He's such a wimp, and he gave up on the Mavericks after he got traded to him. But Lamar Odom is actually a pretty legit point forward.
He
really was. I can't stand him. Very frustrating, but he was legit. He could run that break. He's like 6'10". He's huge.
Yeah, he's huge.
Another guy that I think it's forgotten about is Chris Webber.
Yep.
He was like legit, taking the ball down like on some of the stuff. He was averaged five
especially.
He averaged 5 assists or more in 3 seasons. 2 of them with the Bullets, and then 1 with the Kings, and then for the rest of it, 4.8, 4.7. Had pretty amazing passing skills for someone I never really kind of thought about in that way.
Sure.
And then, when you remember watching those like Magic teams in the late 2000s with Dwight Howard, Hedo Turkoglu he's very forgotten about.
That one's forgotten. One's probably the most forgotten.
He was averaging over 5 a game for multiple seasons. He even did it outside of, maybe, he was with the Magic, so he's just dumping it off to Dwight Howard. Right. No, he did it with the Suns too in 2010 and 11.
See, that's crazy because he's one of those guys that you're absolutely right. He's forgotten because in the late 2000s, I felt like he was arguably a top 10, definitely a top 15 player in the league personally. Those seasons. Whoa. Yeah. I know that's aggressive, but like,
it's aggressive.
Dude was solid and he was huge.
He was huge. So he's 6'10" too. Yeah. And never would have thought of him as that tall. But yeah, when you look at like 2007, 2008, he's averaging 19 points a game, 5 assists a game, 5.7 rebounds a game. He's got an effective field goal percentage of .525.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know what that means, but like effective field goals, I need to look that up. But no, so top 10. As I'm saying that, I'm thinking like, okay, Kobe, Pau Gasol, Dirk, like those are those. So I want to give him that, but I give him top 20, and I think.
I think if any of these guys have if you turn around and look at like Dirk or any of these guys in 2008, 2009, they had a 25-5 season. You're like, damn, that's another great, solid season from a superstar. Yeah. Right. So I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. So side note, him and Enes Kanter hate each other. So.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, because of the whole Turkey.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and he's like super in the government. I don't know what Hedo's position is, but he's in direct contact with the president of Turkey while Enes Kanter hates him.
Yeah, I don't want to end up on any Turkish blogs, but
we'll just move on. I'm not picking a side, but just a little random side note. But okay, no, that's good. Hedo, I agree, completely forgotten about, and in a lot of people's eyes, including mine.
And then this is a little bit older school, but I know he's your boy, so we had to bring it up. Grant Hill.
Dude, he's one of those guys.
Mom, what was it? Jalen Rose, Chris Webber. Grant Hill's mom went to college.
Yeah, one of the famous quotes. Grant Hill is one that he hurts me just because he's like, it's just for me, it's what would he have been? What could he have been had he not had injuries? I mean, you think he almost died from a staph infection and still had productive role-playing seasons. And it's like one of those Sean Livingston type things. I mean, I think Grant Hill's ceiling was a little higher, even though Sean Livingston, I think, had a really high ceiling as well before that. I mean, he destroyed his knee. But yeah, Grant Hill, that's a good one. I like Grant Hill.
Did you pull up your Scottie assist numbers?
Yeah, so when Jordan was gone, he averaged 5.2 and 5.9.
Wow.
So the guy was still getting...
How many points a game was he getting?
He averaged, that's a good question. I'm glad I don't remember that because that makes this... He was averaging 22 and 21. Believe it or not, his points per game really didn't go up a ton.
That was the thing they said in the Jordan doc, too, is... that was kind of interesting to me. They really turned it into more of like a team game, and I think that goes back to what you were saying about the triangle. Jordan was a lot more ball dominant, so they're running the triangle, but not fully.
Because you got the greatest scorer in the world.
Yeah, it's just let the boy cook. But if you go back and look at kind of all those guys are talking about it, PJ Armstrong was talking about it, and they really the team kind of stepped up and they truly ran the triangle and had some good success.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about some guys who are point forwards now? Or let's start with the
obvious. Let's start with the obvious, and that's LeBron James, right? Yeah. And we already kind of brushed on him because of what Scottie has said, but LeBron James is,
Bro, he averaged over 10 assists this season.
This season is when, and I think we've talked about this in previous episodes, but this season for me is when I was like, dude, I can't even hate on the guy. I know he's so good and he's so smart and he's just, I was actually, side note, I was watching the 2011 finals last night and
check it out.
Oh yeah, let's go, baby. Hey, the other side note on that side note, I don't know if that's a thing, but
PSS.
The Mavs were an underrated, underappreciated team as far as ball movement goes that year.
Sure.
They moved the ball really, really well. But no, I watched his growth and how much the Mavs were able to sag back off of him, and then he had no back to the basket game, and just to see how he's filled his holes, and it feels like in 2030 LeBron's going to be literally the 100, like he's going to be rated 100 in real life. He gets so much better every year.
He really does. Yeah, he couldn't even post up Jason Terry.
Yeah, no, he could exactly. Who's 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, dude, I could post up Jason Terry. LeBron couldn't, but he could now.
And he could post up Joel Embiid. I'm not saying it's going to be a win for him, but no, the guy is just. But going to his point forward position, he's an excellent distributor. He's got, I don't consider him a great ball handler, but it's more than enough what he's able to do. He's become, you can't even say he's the mold because it feels like no one will ever replicate that mold. But he's obviously the guy today.
There'll be a generational guy at some point. I hope it's fun to watch him. But I think you're right. He's not like the world's greatest ball handler, but he uses his body so well. He's got such great body control, and you can see on his Instagram, he's always working out on his body control and calisthenics. So that's probably why. And I think that's probably what I would attribute it to most is his agility and calisthenics. But so the other guys, we have on here Ben Simmons. Is actually kind of similar mold to LeBron, just broke ass shot. And just not, maybe not. He's just not. He doesn't have the same IQ. I'm not trying to in theory.
And it's not a knock on Ben. It's just LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron's just. We're talking about all-time greats, but he got the same body.
Yep.
Pretty much. He doesn't have quite as much weight on him, but it's a very similar body.
But he's got a couple inches on LeBron. He's 6'10". He's a clean 6'10".
Yeah. But man,
go for it.
What do you think about him? What?
Man, I feel like I want to see him away from Embiid. I think that's going to give me a real feel for him. I like him. I really do. I just think he's stuck in a box that is not friendly towards him. His style.
Bad coaching, average shooting, and another big guy who's playing in the same sandbox. If you were let's just say we were, redrafting the league or whatever, and you get to, I don't know, let's call it the 8th pick, and you take Simmons or Embiid? If you're starting a team.
I'm still taking Simmons, man.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. I think it's probably just a kind of a pick your poison kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think like in today's game, Embiid has impressed me. I thought he was going to be a bust when it came to like he didn't play for the first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And the Sixers paid him before he'd ever played a game, like a big contract. I was like, what is going on? Clearly they saw something we didn't. And this is not a knock on Embiid, but I think Simmons fits today's mold of the game better.
Yeah, I think he's got there's more upside.
Yeah, and I think he's longer. He's going to last longer. So
yeah, and you can run an offense in today's NBA around Embiid and be very successful, and maybe, but I'm with you. It's a lot easier to do it with Simmons.
Yeah, and so I'm going Simmons.
I mean, so this was kind of crazy. Just looking at this season's assist totals, 2 of the top 5 guys are these point forward body types, and with it being LeBron and Simmons. And LeBron's, first in assists this season. I think it's pretty well documented. He's got like 10.1 assists a game, and then Simmons is number 5 at 8.2.
See,
that's really impressive. And when you look at his scoring numbers too, it actually kind of mirrors the traditional point guard. Like if you just looked at his stats, you wouldn't really know that he was 6'10".
And that's one thing I want to see him improve on.
Yeah,
like I feel like he should be a 25 and 8 guy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's averaging 8 rebounds a game too, so he's doing a lot of dirty work. But actually 3 of the top 5 guys are.
I was going to say you missed one.
Luka's at 8.7. Yeah, sorry, I was talking about these guys, but that just goes back to what we were saying about the growth path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of this position.
Yeah, imagine back in our youth days, right? When we were back in the mid 2000s, 3 of the top 5 guys being 6'7" or higher on assist. 6'7". No. It's an anomaly. It's not happening. It's just not. So
yeah, no.
Well, and that brings up the third person, which is obviously the new upcoming Luka Doncic. He 6'7", man. Again, kind of that LeBron IQ kind of guy. He's not there yet, but I definitely see if there's anybody that's going to have the ability to have the IQ of LeBron, it's going to be Luka.
Totally.
Rick Carlisle had him trying to come off the ball, and then he's like, he's so dang good, I just had to give him the ball. And that's
it's like a high school football game. It's like just put your best player at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like just don't fuck around with this. Just give it to your best athlete.
We don't need a guy that can pass it. We just need someone to get buckets, and Luka can do that. Man, we talked about him in the last episode, so we don't have to hit on it too much, but he's special.
And the amazing thing about some of these, especially these 3 guys, or really 4 guys, I think Giannis is definitely in here. But when you talk about their overall numbers, I mean, LeBron's averaging 26 points a game, 10.5 assists, and 8 rebounds. Luka is averaging 29, 9, and 9. And then Ben Simmons is 16, 8, and 8. And then Giannis is 30 points a game. It's ridiculous. 6 assists a game and like 14 rebounds. These rebounding numbers are insane.
That's like Kevin Love when he was on the Timberwolves, man.
Yeah, but it really packs like a totally different punch that like a normal point guard doesn't give you. And these guys are really they're doing it all. That's the amazing thing about these guys.
They're doing everything.
They're doing it all.
It's I mean, Giannis, 14 rebounds and still giving you 30 points and still giving you 6 assists.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, when like the 06-07 season, the top 5 guys are Steve Nash at 11.5 assists, Darren Williams at 9.3, Jason Kidd at 9.2, Chris Paul at 8.9, and Baron Davis at 8.1.
So your tallest guy's 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
That's that hits where we're at now.
And my boy TJ Ford, 7.9 a game.
TJ, baby. I watched, I watched TJ live on my KDFI 27 local station in the state championship game, and when he was in high school.
That's awesome. So the funny thing about that season, the closest thing to a point forward was LeBron James averaging 6 assists a game, and he was like 16th highest assists. So everyone else is just point guards.
Crazy. So, and then you got like we have the lesser. No, I mean the lesser. You got.
Well, I think we got to talk about KD and
That's what
Giannis
I
for
was
a
gonna
little bit in
say.
there.
Like he's dude, 6'9", 6'10". He's a scorer. Obviously, he's get buckets first, but guy can still distribute. How much assists has he averaged in his career?
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, how many assists?
Let me look that up and get back to you.
Sounds good. So I mean, you look at him though. I would say, but out of all these guys, Kevin Durant's up there. I'd put him and Luka as the best ball handlers. KD's got. I feel like he's underrated as far as his ball handling goes.
Yeah.
He's salty. I mean, that dude can rock dudes, which is crazy because he's so long.
So tall. But his arms are so proportionally long with his body that he can still do it.
And then he can shift people. It's crazy. So
look at KD. This is probably just as much about the evolution as the game as the evolution of KD. But he went from his first 4 seasons, really first 5 seasons, he was averaging anywhere from 2.4 to 3.5 assists. And then in 2012, 2013, he goes to 4.6, 5.5. I think that was his MVP season, and 13 and 14. And then he just 4, 5, 4.8, 5.4, and then 5.9. I mean, he's gone from averaging 2.5 to 6.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like that's the threshold. You have to average 5 if you want to be.
I think 5 was kind of. I was going to ask you that question earlier and I forgot to, but 5 is kind of my threshold of like, oh, okay, yeah, we can talk about it.
You got to be halfway to the double digits.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's another guy in here that really, he's not talked about a huge amount, but and you thought Mike Conley was going to take away some assist numbers from this guy, but Joe Ingles.
Oh, dude, that's a good one, Ford. I like that one. I absolutely. I mean, look, he's not near on the level of most of the guys we've spoken on, but that's absolutely. I would call him a point forward all day long.
That's a guy I would love to have on my team. He's going to play hard defense. He takes that 3-and-D and then gives you like an extra layer.
He gives you that.
He's going to play good defense. He's going to shoot your threes, and then
he's going to have your back as a teammate, which is someone you always want.
I feel like if the Mavs made a move for Joe Ingles, I'd be quite thrilled.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It'd be good. It would. That's a very valid. I just think that shows. Yeah, and this is kind of how I want to end the episode. It just shows where we're going as a league, right? As a basketball league. I mean, just because it feels like there's so many. I mean, there's so many we didn't hit on. I think, as you mentioned in previous conversations, Blake Griffin can be considered one. I think LaMarcus Aldridge could have been one. He's a pretty good passer.
If he came into the league 5 years later.
Yeah, exactly. And so it shows where we're going. I mean, we even talked about, I don't consider Nikola one, but he great passer, fantastic passer. And you know what? Frankly, if he was more lean and more mobile and agile, he absolutely would be on this list.
Totally.
So I mean, where do you see it going? Where in 5 years, you kind of prefaced it with your Nevada talk, but in 5 years, where do we see the league?
I almost see like 5 Jason Tatums on the court,
and that's another one.
Like
that's another one.
That's just what that's if I envision when I play 2K2, like I fucking draft, like it's just 5 Jason Tatum type guys,
Sure.
And I think and you'll just see it to where the flow. It's going to just become about the flow of the offense, and there's not going to be a ball dominant guy. I mean, obviously, someone's always going to be better than someone else on the team at getting assists, but I think it's just going to turn into very slash and kick, positionless, basketball, and everyone can shoot, everyone can get layups. The post-up game is totally, moving away. So I think that's where it's going. What about you?
No, agreed. And that's frankly why I would take Ben Simmons over Embiid.
Yeah.
Right. I just think he fits the mold, and he's a little younger. He's a little younger. So I think all those things, but. No, I absolutely agree. I mean, you look at the Celtics. Let's break down the Celtics real quick.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward,
right.
Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They got 3 in their starting lineup.
Right. Totally.
And
Jaylen Brown's
I don't think either of those guys are averaging. Say what?
Jaylen Brown's a shooting guard on that team.
He plays like exactly. No, I mean, and he is, but all
he's
6'8" guys.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so we don't put him on this list just because. Then I don't think any of them are averaging 5 assists, but it just shows where we're going as a league, which is actually, frankly, really exciting. I think eventually we're going to see a hybrid Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, which isn't that mold, but that's a filthy. I mean, it's just a scary thought.
Essentially, the future of the NBA is if we took the Houston Rockets and gave everyone 3-inch shoe inserts, and
Exactly.
that's the future of the NBA.
Exactly.
But I wanted to bring up you brought up Russell Westbrook. Is he a point forward now?
Say that again. Who?
Is Russell Westbrook a point forward now?
Essentially, I mean,
he's
kind
like
of
playing post-up game sometimes.
Kind of. I mean, we're not going to throw him on the list. I wouldn't, but no. I mean, you could make the argument essentially. I mean, how the Rockets play is basically a center. So
yeah,
crazy, man.
And I think there's a couple other guys I wanted to mention that I think Andrew Wiggins was headed to being the point forward in Minnesota until he got traded. Now he's we'll see what happens with him in Golden State, but I'm actually kind of excited for him. I think
I'm excited for him. I think
it's almost like what we were just talking about, where it's just a very free-flowing offense. I think it'll work well for him. Michael Porter Jr. He's huge. He's huge, and he's going to be able to do that.
He's Ben Simmons with the jump shot.
Yes, which is a good thing to be.
Yes,
that's a good thing to be. And then two guys that really should be point forwards that just aren't is Evan Turner and Rudy Gay. I just love dogging on Rudy Gay.
The guys that never were, man.
Yeah, but Evan Turner was. I mean, he was a pretty big deal coming into the league.
Well, he was the National College Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I think he was number 2 behind John Wall in the draft.
Yeah.
Both of those guys are guys that it just feels like you never got enough from them. And that's kind of how I even feel about Lamar Odom, who was nasty, but I felt like he could have been a little nastier.
Yeah, I'm totally out on Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
I can't believe he gave up on the Mavs. Remember that when he and Cuban got into a fight in the locker room and Odom wouldn't go back out there? Cuban told him not to go back out?
I don't remember. I just think these guys get so much treatment and they're pampered, and so they don't handle opposition. A lot of them don't handle opposition well, and I think Lamar's maybe the picture definition of that. He struggled, and it seems like he's gotten his life somewhat together, which is good for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know obviously he was in a coma, and found in a place that you probably don't want to be found.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not a great headline.
So just a bunch of issues.
That was scary. I mean,
I'm glad his health is back to look, I don't wish ill will on anybody. And so, but I think
he didn't play for the Mavs anymore.
My point is, I think some guys just struggle with opposition. I mean, he didn't want to leave the Lakers, clearly.
Yeah, totally.
He came to Dallas, and I don't think you and I knew each other at the time, but I was definitely excited.
Oh, I was too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I think most Dallas Mavericks fans were, and it was kind of like that Derek Fisher. Remember when Derek Fisher? I hate him more than I hate
really?
for what he did with Dallas. Yeah, he wanted to be on a contender.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I can't believe you hate him more than Lamar.
Dude, I hate him more than Lamar Odom. I don't like D-Fish at all. Especially even I don't want to get on a tangent, but even with the Matt Barnes stuff, I'm like, dude, you're just
I know.
Can't stand the dude.
Trouble follows. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, but no, agreed.
So what does your ideal team look like in a couple of years, in 5 years in the future?
I think LeBron's officially going to be a robot, a cyborg that can average 50 and 20 a game. So obviously LeBron is at the head of that. No, I think we start to see a decline in him finally, maybe. I don't know. Not finally. I don't want to see a decline. I'm loving this.
Yeah, that's how
I
mean that more growing hair back, dude. He's getting better.
He's just going on forever, man. I'm like, where is this? I mean, I don't know where he's getting the energy, let alone and look, I get it. I don't spend 7 figures a day. I'm not the athletic freak, but I feel like my son wants to jump up and down sometimes, and I'm like, dude, what happened to me? And I'm 4 years younger than him. So I don't get it. But I think, realistically, I'm gonna make an assumption that LeBron drifts down. I think you might have one 6'3" guy, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" guy, but if you do, he's gonna be a shooter, lights out shooter, like a Steph Curry, Trae Young type guy. But more Steph Curry because he's a little higher percentage. And I think some of that's also his surroundings, right? But I I think you're going to see anywhere from your I don't want to name guys because that'll take too long, but 6'5" to 6'10" is going to be your starting lineup.
Yeah.
And I think it's basically positionless basketball. I think I'd be interested to see where the Embiids, where the Jokic, those guys go, because yes, they're offensive and defense and rebounding X factors, but I think defensively, do they struggle, right? Because you're gonna if Ben Simmons is you're big on the floor, right? If he's the biggest guy. By the way, the Rockets would, I think, love Ben Simmons.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Well, no,
because he's too ball dominant. As I'm saying,
he can't shoot.
Yeah, well, he can't shoot, but yeah, no, he doesn't fit. But anyways, you can't. I just don't see. Embiid's not going to be able to keep in front of Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
definitely not Jokic.
I'm gonna put him on skates on the perimeter. We'll just switch him out to the perimeter and put him on skates.
See a rule change. If you're 7 foot above, you can wear rollerblades. So, no, but that's it. I just think it's going where we're already seeing it, right? Like, it's positionless basketball. I think we see 6'5" to 6'10". That's your typical lineup. I don't think we're going to see a ton of 7-footers. And when we do, it's going to be like James Weissman out of Memphis, who is freakishly athletic. He's going to be
that touch.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a defensive liability against that's another thing is how well do they switch defensively? And that's personally, take all biases aside and being a Mavericks fan, that's personally why I still think Luka over Trae, right? Because even though he's not a great defender,
Trae Young.
So yeah, he's better. Well, and he can guard multiple positions. Trae can't, you know, and shout out to Trae because I'm a little guy, So, but it's just not cohesive with where the NBA is going.
Totally.
So,
well,
good. All right, man. Well, thanks for listening, guys. And this next episode, we're not even sure. I don't think what we're gonna do. What we think maybe we do our position or throw in a lineup without some prominent names. Maybe we do something like that. But we'll get into that and let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time.
It'll be good, whatever it is, and you guys stay salty.
Yes, sir. Take it easy, Ford.
You do.
Bye.
Just